Okay, and we are hopefully here with RaeAnne Thayne. I'm hoping to get us going live. Why is this not doing this? Because it doesn't like me. As usual, there we go. Finally, it's like, oh, good grief, this is ridiculous. Here we go. Now we're live everywhere. And hopefully some people will find us. I was whining to RaeAnne later. If any of you follow me on both Instagram and Facebook, you might notice that my Facebook page isn't having any new posts, and that's because it's a ghost page at the moment. And I've been kicked off my own page. I was catfished and Trojan horsed and so, it's so funny how much we come to depend on our social media, isn't it?
It really is.
Especially as authors, it's such a fun way to connect with readers. And when all of a sudden, you get one of the legs of the stool knocked off, it's just so not fun. But I'm happy you were willing to come and talk with me anyway. And I see we do have a couple of bodies. Hi, people from Instagram, for joining us. I'm glad that you could be with us today. And that'll make RaeAnne feel better, like she's not wasting her time talking to me. But
even if no one came, I would still enjoy it.
Oh, you're so cute. RaeAnne Thayne, New York Times best-selling author. She's just the best. She's such a lovely lady, and I love her books. And I think if you're here, you like them too. And hi, Connie. Thanks for joining us from Columbia, Ohio. You must be one of my also Facebook people, because they're really trained to say, oh, so-and-so is here from such and such state. So thanks for letting us know that the East Coast has arrived. And I'm really excited to be talking to RaeAnne Thayne. If you're looking for a great summer read, she's going to have that for you. And first, we're going to talk a little bit about summer and summer fun. And I was talking to RaeAnne about, okay, what are you guys doing for summer? So finally, after what, 2 years, 3 years, you're going to finally get to do a cruise. So tell us about that.
Yes, we're going to Alaska. So we originally had this booked last summer, this very same week, same ship, same itinerary, everything. So we're even in the same cabins now. But our son we have a son with special needs, and he ended up with a broken hip, and we didn't find out till like 3 weeks before we're supposed to go. If it had been a little bit later, we probably could have gone anyway, just been really careful with him. But we were still trying to figure out, do we do surgery or not do surgery or whatever. So we just knew there was no way we could go. So we had to cancel, but we had insurance. So we saved the insurance money that we got for that. And then we just rebooked as soon as we could in the fall, when we kind of thought, well, let's try it again. So we're leaving, let's see, it'll be 3 weeks from last Thursday. So 2 weeks from next Thursday. And we leave out of Seattle. So I'll be up in your neck of the woods, kind of.
You will, yeah.
And it's just a week in Alaska. And I should say, this is not our first time in Alaska. My husband and I have been, this will be our fourth cruise.
Wow, you do love Alaska.
We do. Well, he's a photographer, and he loves the outdoors, and we're not like sit out by the beach people. That's just not kind of our thing, but we like cruising. And so, and we don't really feel like we can take our son overseas to really extravagant places as much as we'd love to like do a European cruise and everything. But with the healthcare, we're just not quite sure with his needs. So if we're in the US, it's a little easier to get him to the doctor if we needed to, and get home if we had an emergency. So that's our plan. I'm really looking forward to it. We've been planning it I've been planning it for 2 years.
Golly, so we're going to hope that finally that nothing goes wrong and be able to do
finally
it.
Going. It should be lots of fun. And we're taking our all three of our kids. So
oh my gosh, that's going to be so much fun. Family time. But we're still, after our big bucket list cruise, we just planned this thing for 2 years. And then if anything could go wrong, it did. My poor little ruptured eardrum is still hearing and can't fly. And so I'm not a happy camper. And then Gerhardt also got a little bug. And, we've talked about, I know I've talked with you too about in 2027, doing a reader's cruise, going up the East Coast, Cape Cod, and up into Quebec. And I was also excited about that. And part of me was like, do I dare go? What's going to happen to me I'm like you, I love cruising. But gosh, now I've got myself a little spooked. But again, you can't just necessarily hide under the bed and not do anything for fear something might happen.
Well,
so
the same thing walking in the grocery store is what I say. There's more likelihood on a cruise where you're kind of in a contained area, but you're going to get sick anywhere. You can pick it up pushing a shopping cart. So
well, yeah, you're right. And I read somewhere that that you can get norovirus just as easily on land as you can on a ship, but it just gets more publicity because that's scary. Oh, we're on the
Well,
ship
and
with
they
norovirus.
keep
Yeah.
you quarantined in your
Yeah,
room or in your
yeah, and that
cabin.
just kind
So
of scares everybody. Hi, we got a couple new people who have joined us. Thank you so much. And Connie says my daughter and her husband love that tour. So there you go. And we did Alaska with our family a few years back too. And the cruise itself was so much fun and hanging out with everybody. But Alaska, the topography is very similar to Washington.
yeah.
And so I'm going, I could be in Washington. And you know the little train that goes up to where does that to go to the Yukon or whatever. And we're taking the little train. I'm going, we could be in the Cascades. What the heck? What am I doing here?
Well, I mean, we live in the mountains of Utah, so it's similar, but we don't have the ocean. We don't have whales. We don't
Well,
have,
that's true. And I must
well,
say,
you can't see bears where we are. So all that stuff is.
so you're seeing all that cool stuff. And we actually we've seen whales where we are. So down on the Washington coast, we've seen. And you know what's funny too, because I remember a friend talking about doing a whale watching tour. Oh, we got to see the whales. I'm thinking, big deal, got to see whales. And then we saw them when we were first moving to our little digs at the beach. And it was like, I kind of got what everybody gets excited about because you really see that in real life. It's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It really is.
So it's pretty fun when you get to see that stuff. So you're going to get to do that, and that'll pretty much be the big thing for summer for you then.
Yeah, we don't really have anything else planned. I mean, I have a book due at the end of the summer, so I'll be working away. You know how it is.
Yes, you'll be writing again. I know. I
Right.
misread my contract, and I thought I had an extra month.
Oh,
Look at my
no.
books. Like, you better get going here and get this thing written. Oh my goodness! But so talking about summer fun, I was going to throw out a couple ideas. One fun thing, and of course you don't have to wait for summer to do this. You can do this anytime. About 3 weeks ago, some friends and I, in fact, we had a bunch of us who were going to go, and things kept happening, and people kept dropping out. But we wound up with 3 of us, and we did a bookstore crawl. And oh my gosh, that was so fun. We picked 5 stores in our area that we went to, and in between that we went out to lunch, and we had such a good time. And we made this interesting discovery when it comes to bookstores. Every bookstore has its own flavor, and I never really realized that before, but we really saw a difference between one was that we're into the classic books, and another one we're kind of into the more dark murder and mayhem one, and then another one was we're just into bright and sunny. And so every store had a different flavor, a different decor. And it was really fun to do. So, hey, if you're all are looking for something fun to do, whether it's this summer, any time of year, maybe you're going to wait till fall, get some friends together and you just climb in the car, your caravan, and go from store to store and support your local independent bookstores, which is nice. Although I happen to like the chain bookstores too. I'm a big fan of Barnes and Noble, but I also love my independent stores. And that's a fun way to be able to support stores. So kind of a fun thing. Have you ever done anything like that, RaeAnne?
I've done that basically for promotional things, just hit all the bookstores that I can find within a day's drive, but not with friends, which sounds really fun. But
okay, so you kind of crawled all on your own.
Well, crawled on my own.
Well, that's cool.
But I did used to.
Oh.
My favorite thing in the summer was always, I used to have a sister. I mean, I still have a sister, but she used to live closer to me, and we would go yard sailing every Saturday morning. That was our fun thing in the summertime. And we up here, because it's such bad weather the rest of the time, we only have yard sales in the summer. So for me, that's a summer activity.
Oh yeah. Garage sales. Anybody into garage? So we down at our beach digs, that's the big thing that kicks off the summer garage sale season, Memorial Day weekend. And oh my gosh, they had, I think there must have been at least 100 garage sales all over town. So it was a 2-day adventure and finding goodies. And I was very excited. I upgraded my my garage sale blender from 25 years ago. I have a new blender. So I was very excited. Got brand new sheets, and oh my gosh, it was so much fun. We had such a good time.
So fun
yeah, that's fun.
When you find a bargain. I love when you find a bargain, and sometimes like when we would say, okay, our quest today, this is all we're looking for is this particular thing. And then, it kind of makes it fun because you're searching everywhere for that particular thing.
And what's the best thing you've ever found at a garage sale?
Best thing I ever found, probably clothes for my kids at the time when I didn't have very much money, and I had kids I needed to clothe. And I loved it when I could find one that was exactly the sizes we need, and they were super cute. And, you could pay $2 or $3 for a shirt instead of how much money then you'd pay for that. And then I found really cool toys for our daughter. She had a lot of really cool toys that we found at yard sales.
very fun. I always say if you wait long enough, you can find anything you're looking for at a
Yeah.
garage sale. In fact, my funny story, and this was years and years ago, I was in Nashville and I had for some song stuff, and I had wandered into some little shop with somebody, and they had this stupid singing fish that when you walk by, he'd turn and sing, "Take me to the river."
Billy
Anyway,
Bass.
guess who was called Big Mouth Billy Bass. I really wanted to get it. It was really expensive. That's pretty. And I thought that'd be fun for like a mountain cabin or whatever, just fun to have. But I resisted. And then years later, I found Big Billy at a garage sale. I was like, yay. I didn't end up getting because my husband didn't think Big Billy was that cute, but I thought he was great. And I've seen him at so many garage sales since then. I thought, there it is, proof. You just wait, you're going to find what you want. Anything from clothes to small appliances to decor and all kinds of things. So, guys, if you're not into garage sales, has anybody found anything fun at a garage sale? Feel free to brag if you want to. I know my niece is a great garage sailor too, and she's always finding amazing things or just things by the side of the road. So that's always a fun summer thing to do. I think too. So many small towns and even cities end up doing concerts in the park, which are really fun. Have you ever done one of those? Do they have those in your area?
We do have those in our area. The other thing that they have that's really nice are a lot of the ski resorts have a concert series where they'll bring in actually big name people, and you sit out on the hill, that's the ski hill, and there's a stage down at the bottom, and we've done that several times in Park City.
Nice. And when
Really
you've got a family, you're always looking for affordable, or if you're on a fixed income. We're in fact, period. We're all no matter who we are, where we are, we're always looking for some affordable fun. That's usually a fun thing. And when we lived in a different area, they would do movies in the park too. And you come and you spread your blanket, and they'd have the movie playing on whatever kind of big screen. So that's fun. So those are all such fun family things you can do that are nice and affordable to do for summer. I think too, another thing we're going to do is have a book swap, because now all of us have been collecting books, and we've done our bookstore crawl. And so the next thing is going to be to get together and introduce each other to new authors. I'm a big one. I love libraries because it's a great way to meet new authors. I love library book sales. I love garage sales. But once I've found an author, if I really like her, then I want to actually support her and go to the store and buy her book. And I try to do that with all my friends. You guys have got to quit being so prolific. You're breaking my piggy bank.
But I'm not anymore. I used to be a lot more prolific than I am now. But
well, you're still pretty prolific. Oh my gosh. But I think that's a really important thing we can do as readers. And I know so many people out there, I'm sure everybody who is here with us right now is a big supporter of readers or obviously of writers. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, obviously. And we do appreciate that. So I do try and do that because fun as the library book sales are, it doesn't put any money in the writer's pocket or give her a chance to pay her bills. So I do, once I find an author I like, I do try and follow her and save up my money and buy her book when it's out. And that kind of brings us to the subject of summer reading. Someone we know and love, who I'm talking to right now, happens to have a book out, a brand new book. And RaeAnne, why don't you tell us a little bit about your book? What's a little bit about what it's about? And I'm sure we can find this just about anywhere on the planet, right? It should be available everywhere.
I don't know. There's a few places it won't be this year, but you should be able to find it at Walmart. I think that's the main place, in Barnes and Noble, main bookstores. But it's called The Lost Book of First Loves. It actually goes live on Tuesday, so we've still got a couple days before it's live. So this is a book about a couple of sisters, and there's a DNA test involved. One of them doesn't know she's a sister, and there's secrets and a lost manuscript, and it's kind of a book about writing, a book about books, because the long, complicated story to go into all the back history. But one of the sisters, her father was a literary lion in the manner of Steinbeck, Hemingway, and he died unexpectedly 6 months earlier. After he died, she finds through a DNA test that she has a sister somewhere out there, and so she goes tracking down this sister, and together they need to kind of unravel the past and the secrets of the past. And of course, there are love interests. There's a friends to lover story and an enemies to lover story for these two sisters. And I had a great time writing it. It's set in the Grand Teton National Park, which is not very far from where I live. I live about 3 hours from there, and it's one of my favorite places. I worked for a summer in Jackson Lake Lodge when I was in college, and so it's always had a dear place in my heart. And so, yeah, I loved being able to write in a place that I love, and
Oh, nice.
hopefully it gives people a summer feeling, and it's about sisters and family and secrets and all the fun stuff.
Oh, it just sounds really, really good. Now, do you like to try and write someplace where you're setting the book? Do you like to be able to go to where the book is set?
I do. I like, usually I like having been there, because then I can rely on the experience that I had having gone to that place. I don't have to be in that place to write, although it does, help. And I think when I was writing this book, I would go into the mountains near me because they're quite similar to the mountains. I mean, they're not as grand and intimidating as the Grand Tetons, but
Yeah.
the backcountry is very similar with the wildflowers and the aspens and the pine trees and things like that. So I can walk on a trail near me and get sort of the same feeling that I tried to bring into the book.
When you're walking on those trails, are there snakes?
Yes.
I know that's a dumb question, but we don't have, Pacific Northwest, we don't have any poisonous snakes. And so
Yeah.
I hear about the different areas. I'm like,
We have rattlesnakes. There was a few times when I was hiking when I've seen a rattlesnake, and they're usually just hurrying out of your way, and so it's not an issue.
so you never had a snake come after you or hiss at you or rattle or
No. We saw a baby one time, and then another time I was hiking up and there was a snake that just went right across in front of me. That was my little dog, and I think if I had my little dog now, I'd be way more worried about it because I keep her on a leash, but it's a long leash, so she's pretty far out there sniffing around, and that's where I would worry about it the most if I see one.
Yeah, that'd be a little creepy. Oh my goodness. Well, now, where did you get the idea for this book? It's interesting because sometimes things seem to be out in the air. We've got a lot of books out this year about the writing business and writing and, disappearing authors. And yet each author takes a different spin on it. And your spin is totally different than anything else that's out there. But so what gave you this idea?
A couple of things, really. It came from the one sister, Juniper, is a tech guru, electronics. She's co-owner of a company that does fitness tech equipment and software. And so she's very active, very physical. And then suddenly she finds out she has a congenital heart condition that she didn't know she had, because she basically has a heart attack, a cardiac arrest, and saves her life. And it's on like the first page. So I'm not giving anything away, but I know people that have that condition who didn't find out until they were in adulthood that they had this, and they had to get a pacemaker basically implanted, a cardiofibrillator implanted.
Wow.
And they were young, in their 20s, and when they found out. And so I was intrigued by that and had read some Facebook posts, as they were struggling to deal with the ramifications that their life is going to be different than they expected. It really doesn't limit a lot of things, but you're aware of it all the time because you've got this, basically pacemaker keeping you alive and keeping your heart beating regularly. And so I was intrigued by that idea of having to rebuild your life and rewrite who you thought you were. And then I added to her conflict, this poor heroine, by making her find out that her father, the man she thought was her father, was not her father all her life. And so, so she suddenly, and she doesn't find out till later in the book that she's the daughter of this writer that she has loved all her life, that it was her mother's favorite writer, obviously, because they had sometime in the past. But I really liked that. And I liked the part I really enjoyed writing this, besides the Wyoming setting, which I absolutely love, was being able to write journals in the perspective from the father. And he wrote about his fear as a writer. And, before his first book came out, all the insecurity he had and all the, knowing it wasn't going to be as perfect as he dreamed it would be, being afraid of how people would respond to it. And I think all those things that we deal with as writers, those insecurities and those, anxieties that all of us have. And so I really enjoyed that. So, and then part of the story is that Juniper, they give her her father's journal. She still doesn't know it's her father, but for something to do as she's recovering from this heart attack. So she is able to read through his journals and sort of get to know the man that she didn't know beyond the writer. And that's where she sees, a lot of these things. And then they're trying to figure out what was the relationship between him and her mother. Why did her mother never talk about it? Did he know it was his daughter? All those questions, they're never really answered, but they're kind of answered in the book, because we don't know. Both her mother's dead and he's dead. And so how do you know what their story was, And so the journals was really the only way I had to sort of, he talks about the romance and then they think that he wrote a book about it, but they can't find it anywhere. So they're searching to try to find this.
Oh, I love that. That's cool. So we got a treasure hunt in there also.
So they're trying to find, is there another, because, he wrote consistently every couple of years, he did a manuscript, but it was 4 years between his first book and his second book. And then he talks about this other book that doesn't have any resemblance to the book that actually came out 4 years later. So they kind of suspect there was something else that he wrote in between there. And so they're trying to find it. And that's the fun.
That's very interesting. Wow. Well, you talked about having to kind of rewrite your life or reinvent who you are. And I mean, don't you think that happens to all of us at different times? I know, of course, I think everyone who follows you knows you have a special needs child, and we did too. She's no longer with us, but just having children, period, rewrites your life. And then if you have a child with some special needs, then, now we're going on a whole new direction. And anything can come into your life and have you go, now you got to go this direction, right?
Divorce or dealing with real parents, all of it just is tough. And, and that's sort of what I want to show through the book. And that what I hope the message of the book is that you can have hard things happen to you. We all do. We've all got tough stuff, but that doesn't mean you can't go on and have a beautiful life, that you're not worthy of being loved. You're not worthy of loving someone else. Even if you're not who you thought you were, you can rebuild that and be someone even better, when
I like that.
Walk through those tough things.
You can rebuild and be someone even better. That's just a great little nugget to hang on to, because sometimes you can get very discouraged, can't you, when you're going through something hard or you feel like you failed at something. Well, what do I do now? And I just think that's a great thing, guys, to hang on to in our own lives when you're going through those deep waters. It's like, just keep moving, keep swimming. You'll get to the shallows and then you'll get back on land eventually, and be stronger for it, right? From having had to swim through those deep waters.
Right. And just hang on, and it will get better. It will either the situation will get better or your capacity to handle the situation will improve.
Yeah. That's like that.
We've found in our life, that the things that you deal with, you never think I could never do that, but you learn how to deal with it, because you don't have a choice most of the time, but with what hits you, whatever it is in any capacity, whether it's your own health problems or whatever, you figure out how to deal with it, and it does get better.
Yeah, good point. And you talked about the writer and all the insecurities and how writers can identify with that. What's the one thing that you kind of nags at the back of your mind when you've got a new book coming out? Is there a specific little worry that niggles at you?
Well, it's always, will people buy the book? Will they like the book? It's always a worry. And it's the market's gotten harder. And so it's harder to get a foothold anywhere, than it used to be, where there was much more limited inventory out there. Now there's so many books in bookstores, so many amazing authors have these fabulous indie careers, and that's wonderful. But that means there's fewer spots on the shelves for everybody, because there's so many. So that's always a worry. Is the book going to sell at all? Is it, readers going to be able to find it? Do they know about it? That sort of thing. And then again, the big thing is, are they going to like it? Or are they going to say, this is awful? I hate you. I'll never buy your books again.
I think every author goes through it. It's like, okay, this is the one. This is going to be the book that ends my career. And I think so many authors go through that, like, oh no, this is it. And sometimes when you've got the idea for the book, it sounds so magnificent in your mind, and then as you're writing along, you're fun. And then you reach a point, I think, where you think, is this as good as I thought it was?
Right.
And so I think a lot of writers go through that too, right? Where you're like, oh man, is this living up to my expectations? There was like that.
Every time, and I take comfort because there was a quote I read quite early in my career by Steinbeck, and I'm not going to say it correctly, but he basically, the book is done. I want to call it back. It's not ready, and I think we all feel like it's not what we wanted. It's never exactly how we dreamed it would be. Sometimes it's better than that idea. Many times you think, oh, I wish I'd been able to handle that a little bit differently. But, it's always hard to throw it out in the world. But, after you've done it so many times, at some point you just think, well, if they don't like this one, maybe they'll like the next one.
Oh, Diane says, by the way, I'm loving what your new book is about, RaeAnne. Yes, it sounds so intriguing. I know we're going to enjoy this book. And by the way, I should mention, guys, if you haven't bought or pre-ordered it yet, I would encourage you, if it sounds fun, to get on there. Go to your local indie store, your local big store like Barnes and Noble, or online to your favorite supplier, and pre-order the book, because that really helps the author. It helps boost her sales and makes her look very impressive to her publisher and gives her an emotional boost. So if you haven't had a chance to, you want to make sure you get on and pre-order RaeAnne's book, because that'll be a big help to her, So, and as you can see, we authors tend to get a little insecure. There's always that, oh dear, that worry about it.
Psyche out to the world. So there's part of us that is like, if you don't like my book, it means you don't like me, and we're all that insecure middle schooler at heart, I think. That are just,
I know. It just gets embedded back there. And sometimes all it takes, do you ever read your review? I try not to read my reviews, but I thank you all for out there, people who leave kind reviews. I really appreciate it. But there's always this, if I go on and stumble on a bad review, it's going to not make my day. And I don't know about you, but I think most of us, I'm making a sweeping generalization. Many of us, some of us, me, can read 10 great reviews and you read the one. And what's the one that sticks in your mind? It was the one bad one. It was the one that somebody said, this isn't worth the paper it's printed on. That's the one that sticks in your mind, And so so I don't know. Do you do that? Do you read your reviews?
I try not to, but you can't escape it, especially when you're trying to do promotional stuff and you need a quote from a review or something like that. So you have to go on Goodreads and see what people have said. So it's not pleasant when people don't like your books, but I just think there's books that I don't like that everybody else seems to love. And there's just something that doesn't hit me in the right spot. So, I have to accept that. And I think being a writer early on, I had to accept that not everybody likes my books. Some people want sexier books. I don't write sexy books anymore. I used to, maybe early in my career, but that's not what I write now. And so I have to hope the readers who like my books will find them, and if not now, maybe they'll find them later.
Well, and Connie says you are both automatic buys for me. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. And you're right. We can't, as a writer, we can't please anybody. Even as a person, we can't please everybody. And you try the best and you do the best. And I'm with you. There are some books that I think, oh, this is gonna be fabulous. And I think, didn't do it for me. If it didn't do it for me, though, I just think the mom saying, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. But I can do that because I'm not somebody who is earning a living as a reviewer or who has a following, has a platform as a reviewer. So I figure I can get away with just being silent if I don't happen to like something. If I do like something, I sure want to shout it from the rooftops and say, hey, this was great. I loved this read. But I try to kind of keep my big mouth shut if there's something that I really like. But somebody says, yeah, we love both of your books. Oh, thank you. KK for Lighthouses. That's a really cute. I like that handle. That's really cute. There was some great pearl of wisdom went into my brain and it fell back out the other side. So I guess I'll forget the great pearl of wisdom and never mind that. But so you have another book due. Are you working on a Christmas book?
No, the Christmas book is done. And
okay.
I'm working on next summer's book now.
Oh, wow. You are working way ahead.
Well, not really, because Christmas book comes out in October and that's only four months away.
I know, time flies. I don't know where the time goes. It's just like, so many people can remember many different dates and things in their life. And my life was a blur. I'd never be able to write my biography because I can't remember anything, and Jenny, thank you. Jenny says, love you both. Thank you very much. We appreciate the kind words. We really do. I'm trying to make sure I keep track of comments as they come to that. Susie says, I subscribe to that too, Sheila. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And Suzanne says, that's why I read your books, RaeAnne. Never sex and bad language. Yes. Oh, Diane wants to know what's your Christmas book title? Do you have a title for that yet you can share?
It's called Snow Kissed, and it's I'm doing a Christmassy series now that started with this one that came out 2 years ago, Christmas at the Shelter Inn, and then last year was the December Market, which is set in the same little town. So it's obviously different characters, but there's a few people that pop in and out. And then the one this year is also set in the same little town.
I loved your Christmas Market one, by the way. That was really a fun book. That was
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, very nice. I don't have a Christmas book coming out this year. I've got my funny little fall release. It's very different, but I'm thinking I might just write one on my own and self-publish it. And
That'd
just
be
for the
great.
heck
Right, even a novella, you know, because you're
well,
so
I wanted to get up to 20 books. I think I've got 18 Christmas books under my belt. And I thought, I just would like to round that up to a nice even 20. So I don't know if I'll get there. I feel like it's getting harder and harder to find something new to say about Christmas. You know, not that we don't love Christmas, but how do you come up with a whole new, Christmas idea? It's like, feel like so much has been said and done. But I've got a really crazy out there idea that probably people would go, okay, Sheila, I can't follow you here. This is too weird. But I'm going to write it anyway because what the heck? I wrote one from a cat's viewpoint, and that wound up being a Hallmark movie. And I remember my agent going, I don't get it. This is weird. But, so you never know. You never know what people are going to like. Oh, dear. But anyway, so Christmas book coming, and then you've got the one next year. So you are a busy bee. And you're all doing that around family and your obligations and your responsibilities as a mom. That's pretty amazing.
Well, it's, you know how it is. You just do what you have to do. And it's been my job for the last, let's see, I've been writing full time for 30 years now. And so it's been, I'm lucky that I've been able to have a job that lets me be flexible and go on cruises to Alaska and things like that. So I just,
for sure. Well, and you also have a very supportive husband too.
He is amazing. Yes, he is amazing, and he helps a lot. And our son is in a day program, and that helps when he can go through.
Oh, good. Okay, all right, that helps. Yeah, that really helps.
He was home for like 2.5 years, 2.5 years straight. He was home with us 24/7 because he just aged out of the school system, and had started his day program, but then they totally shut down, and it was rough. 2.5 years.
Yeah, well, that's hard. Yeah, I remember those days, and thank God ours did the special school. And by the time she has aged out, we actually had put her in a group home. We couldn't. I look back and go, I wish now I was making. I wish then I was making the kind of money I'm making now because I could have hired help. But it was just the two of us. And the last time she came home for a visit, we tried to get her in and out of the bathtub, and that was an exciting adventure. And we're like, oh boy, this is not working real well. But
we're lucky. We have a roll-in shower, and he has a shower chair, so we have
nice
attractive that we've been using a lot more since he broke his hip. We've been using that instead of lifting him ourselves. We just use it.
How does it stress his hip having to be sitting though? Sorry guys, I've got kind of a gooped up eyeball. I scratched my contact, so I'm rubbing do all kinds of things you're not supposed to do when you're on the screen, so I apologize. But anyway, so getting back to the life with your son, what was my question? I'm losing my mind. Look at the hair color, you guys. Do you think I'm turning into a turnip? Anyway, I hope not. But how that's working okay? Oh yeah, with the broken hip. How does that work with being seated? That's not a problem for healing.
Well, it's been a year since, I think even a year and a couple months since he broke it. And so he seems to be more comfortable sitting in his chair. That was our big thing why we didn't go on the cruise, because he couldn't tolerate his wheelchair. So he had to kind of be on his bed for a month, basically, because that was really the only, he could tolerate his chair for half an hour maybe. But other than that, he was uncomfortable. And so, we just have to be careful with him. We just move him carefully and position him as best we can. I think it still bugs him sometimes, but he's nonverbal, so he can't really say, this is what's bugging me. We just kind of have to guess that's what
that's hard too, when they can't tell you what's wrong. It's very, very frustrating. But hopefully you guys are all going to have a wonderful time on this upcoming Alaska cruise. And who knows, maybe you'll get some fabulous new book ideas. Everybody always asks, where do you get your ideas? Have you ever gotten ideas when you're traveling?
I haven't gotten, I've gotten ideas, but not from the travel. It's a nice relaxation for your brain when you travel. So it kind of opens you up for more ideas as you go. But I have used a lot of things from my travels in books later, like we've traveled the Oregon coast several times and I've set books in that area. In fact, the one I'm working on right now for next summer is going to be an Oregon coast book. And, we go to Yellowstone and Grand Teton all the time because it's close. So
sure.
I come up with things there. I incorporate things that I see on my vacations. That's more of what it is. It's not suddenly get an idea because I'm traveling and I think, I'm going to write this book that I just came up with. It's little things that I experience that end up somehow showing up in my books.
Getting incorporated in the book, which is great, and we always joke, be careful what you tell a writer, because you could end up in her book. You were always open. The antenna are always moving.
Always looking. Yeah. What about you? Do you find ideas when you travel?
I have a couple times actually. My book One Charm Christmas wound up being inspired by, we had taken a Christmas river cruise, and I used that whole itinerary because it was just so magical. We wound up doing three. We did one on our own, then we went with my husband's brother and his wife, and then I did a little readers cruise, and each one was just so fun. Guys, if you are into traveling, if you want to save your pennies and you want to do something just really spectacular, I would really encourage you to consider doing one of those European river cruises where they hit the different Christmas markets, because they really are magical. It's just hard to put into words. And now that we've decided we're just so done with international travel, it's a little sad. It's like, oh, I'll never get to do another one of those.
Oh, you will. You, right now, you're not feeling it, but you will.
You're right. I'm not. I'm so done. That's
how I am when I go to Disneyland. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I've done enough Disney. And then, a couple months later, I'm like, oh, we could maybe do another one. Maybe.
Just now pulling out of I don't want to do a cruise. I really did want to do one last cruise and do that readers cruise. So I'm hoping that by the time it's time to I hear I've got people interested. I thought I'm going to end up planning a cruise for everybody, and I'm not going to go. That just seems really weird. So hopefully, by the time it's time to talk about 2027 and do that, I'll be a little more recovered from my adventures. But oh dear, it was fun anyway. And when we did our trip, one of my favorite things was visiting in Rome. We saw the Trevi Fountain. I don't know if anybody been to Rome, have seen that. Remember, I was a mere child. I really was a mere child, but there was an old movie called Three Coins in a Fountain, and they tossed their coins in the fountain. These three ladies, and it's really interesting how attitudes and times and women have changed since back then. So some of it you look at it going, really, wow, this is really weird, but very dated. But it was really fun to see that fountain. I thought, oh, I want to see the Trevi Fountain. And that thing is massive in real life. You just think it's this little cute little fountain. And it's just humongous, and it's gorgeous.
Building size, it covers a whole side of a building. It's just massive.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It's just amazing. So that was probably really a highlight of Rome. Let's see, what's KK saying? I had an author tell me once that my fur daughter Mocha may end up in a book someday. She just may. You never know. I had a relative once say, "Stop putting me in your books." I'm thinking, well, stop doing all these interesting things to me. I'll put you in a book. So anyway, yeah, you never know. It's always fun to get ideas and to collect. I like to collect fun names too for books. That can be hard. Do you find that hard as a writer sometimes to come up with a fresh name for a book? Like, oh, what am I going to name this character?
In the middle of my editor and I are in the middle of trying to figure out what my next summer's book will be, and it's not going well. Trying to figure out. Well, you just want it to be something snappy and appealing to people, and I don't know. It's tough.
I know it can be a challenge. Oh, the challenge of writing. Susie says, yes, we've been to Rome and all over Italy. Trevi Fountain is beautiful. It is. It really is. And the Sistine Chapel was amazing. But they because the whole world wants to see the Vatican and see the Sistine Chapel, and they had us packed in there like sardines. And I really suspect that's where I got my little bug that I kindly shared with everyone else. And there's an April party. I promise you guys I was not infecting the entire ship, but it went from, I think I've got a little cold, to, my ear, I got an earache, to, you ruptured your eardrum. So anyway, it was jolly good fun. And I'm still my hearing is finally coming back. I thought, gosh, I wonder if I'm just going to end up deaf in this one ear. And thankfully, the hearing is coming back. So that's a good thing. But so things, like we said earlier, you're going to go through bad stuff. But if you can just kind of hang in there and keep swimming through the tough waters, you'll either get stronger or you'll get to the other side or something. Let's see. KK wants to know, what inspired you both to become authors? Well, now there's an audience. You go first, RaeAnne.
Okay. So I was not ever planning to be a writer until I was in high school, and then took a journalism class. I was very involved in drama. I was going to be a drama teacher or be on Broadway or whatever. That was my dream. but my mom made me take a journalism class because she thought I had too many drama and debate classes. I needed to, widen my interests. So I took a journalism class and loved it. That was my happy place. So I went on, to get a degree in journalism, worked at a daily newspaper, but I dreamed about writing a romance novel because that's what I love to read. And so I was on maternity leave with our daughter, who'll be 35 this month, and decided, well, now's the time I need to start trying to write a book because I'm home with her for these couple months and need to figure it out. So I started. It was awful. I kept trying and trying, and that was a time where there were only basically Harlequin and Silhouette. That was the only game in town, really, and I got rejected by them, and it was depressing and sad. So I thought, well, okay, well, I guess maybe I'm not cut up for this. But then I tried again, resubmitted it, and finally sold to Bantam Love Swept, which also had a category romance line. So that's how I started. And I thought about writing one book, and here we are 78 books later.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, you kind of got hooked, I guess, a little bit.
I did. And I quit. I've been writing full time since 97, so almost 30 years.
That is really cool. I mean, it is great for us with having families because you can write around what's going on with your family. For me now, I write around what's going on in my social life. I don't want to miss a good party, but you can structure your schedule to the rest of your life, and that helps. And for me, I was writing little stories as a kid and reading to my poor captive third grade class. I had a really supportive teacher. I will just, good old Mrs. Brown. I'll always be grateful to Mrs. Brown for just predicting I was going to become a famous author someday. And I wish I'd been able to tell her, I did, I'm an author. But so teachers, what an important part they play. And parents also, if you see a gifting in your kid and can not shove them that direction, but give them the freedom to explore those gifts. You never know. That could be something they end up doing as an adult. And I was very into music and bands and all kinds of stuff and wanted to make it as a songwriter. And that just didn't end up panning out. And my husband finally, after I sold my first book, said, "Why don't you just do this? You're actually making money at this." Not that I was making a lot, but it was better than 8 million trips to Nashville and song demos and all the other things that songwriters do trying to make it. But anyway, it's interesting the paths you end up in. And I think sometimes it's just follow that inclination. And so if there's anybody out there listening to us that you're thinking, boy, I'd sure like to try my hand out, fill in the blank, try your hand at it because it may be something you're meant to do. And you won't know if you're meant to do it unless you do it, right?
Right. Right. And I always tell people, you'll never regret having tried to write a book. You will regret when you're dying that you didn't try. So why not just do it? If that's something that you want to do, that you think you might, love doing, just sit down and do it.
I love that. I think often there's that fear of failure, but a fear of failure robs you of the opportunity to succeed. And so we don't want to let fear rule our lives when it comes to trying new things and having new adventures and improving ourselves. Whatever it is that's holding you back, you just got to cut the chains and say, I'm going for it. So,
well, it's easy to say, don't be afraid, but I've read books that are called Feel the Fear, but Do It Anyway. That's
I like that too.
All afraid, we all have fears of rejection. And we talked about that earlier. We all are afraid of throwing ourselves out there, but you do it anyway. You have to let your dreams be bigger than your fear.
Oh, I love that. That's a great saying. Let your dreams be bigger than your fears. That needs to be a poster. That's really good. And that's so true. And again, if you're afraid to try and you don't try, like you said, later on, you're going to regret that you didn't try and say, doggone, I wish I could have, coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of thing. So I think that's maybe a good note. Again, let's circle one more time back to the book. The book comes out Tuesday, right? Show us the cover again. You're beautiful. I love your color. Your cover is just awesome. Look at that cool cover, you guys. That's just a great cover. And
I
it's available Tuesday.
I'm very happy about this cover because when they first sent it to us, it looked like that. You probably can't see, but there's no wildflowers on this one. And I said, we need more color. We need flowers or something. So they went back to the drawing board and did the flowers, which I like so much.
Yeah, I think flowers are good. We need flowers. That's a good thing. Give me flowers. And they did. And so that's really cool. So that's available come Tuesday. But please, if you are all interested in this, pre-order it. Support your local RaeAnne and let's let her burst out of the gate with a great amount of speed and strength. And for those of you who came in and joined us late, I will be posting this on my YouTube channel, my Sheila Roberts YouTube channel, so you can watch the rest of it then, because Instagram lives do not last forever. They have a short life, and so, but you will be able to see this on my YouTube channel, and hopefully at some point my Facebook, I will get my Facebook page back, and that little drama will be taken care of. But meanwhile, I'm so happy RaeAnne took the time to talk with us anyway today, even though we didn't maybe have quite as large a crowd. I appreciate those of you who saw this and showed up to support her, and I know you're going to continue to do so by reading her book. And if you like it, give it a good review. Let's go the extra mile and get some reviews up there, because again, that boosts things up in the algorithm and helps more people find her. So we're going to do our part, RaeAnne, to get things going for you. And I'm so happy you could join us today. Thanks you guys so much for all being with us. And we will be talking again soon with more authors and having more fun. And if nowhere else, here on Instagram Live and on YouTube.
Have a great night.
And where am I? Oh, let's see. And we're going to end this stream here.